maybe you...
Yeah, for better or worse, DPS is king in all things in this game. Right there. Bam. End. Finished. The discussion's over. That sentence, for better or worse, DPS is king of all things in this game. Yes, yes, triple yes. Yes.
I am Raziel.
Okay, let's check this out.
Years ago, there were multiple patches where tanks had to use DPS accessories to get
I remember
more
that.
stat.
Yep.
That's right.
I remember that.
Tank accessories with vitality made you a clown.
Yeah,
Well,
I remember that.
Well, look at that. All the warrior mains are swapping to Gunbreaker because the DPS...
Let me read this. TLDR, the job balance is super fucking bad, and if this released without a tome weapon gear, this would be the hardest modern DPS check this game has probably ever seen, and it would be highly improbable that any group that wasn't a speed kill group would ever clear without metacomp.
Of the gate boss cannot be met. Interesting. And what's this? Out of all the tanks, Warrior and Paladin are still absolutely potato when compared to the Dark Knight.
Wait, Warrior's below Paladin?
It's almost as though Square Enix don't know what they're doing with tanks. What a surprise, they don't. And the thing is, they never have. I remember in Realm Reborn when people would take 2 Paladins because Warrior was
I was a Paladin of Realm Reborn. I remember that. Today,
Warrior is one of the lowest DPS tanks along with Paladin.
Yeah, but they heal themselves like fucking crazy.
And Dark Knight with an insane gap between the DPS.
All right.
I don't need to tell you the current situation of every warrior or 90% of warriors swapping.
No fucking way we do this. No way. This
Zeems.
is fucking stupid. This is...
They can actually meet the DPS check. Ideally, you should be able to meet a DPS check with
good old Zeems.
Some tome gear, some drops.
I feel his frustration, man.
Split run. Let's look at some situations where Square Enix...
Let's do it. Let's look at it.
Historically, Square Enix have sucked at designing tanks.
Yeah.
I've gone over tank stance removal, all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Let's go on to something a bit more...
Let me pause that real quick. So, tank stance removal. In Final Fantasy XIV's case, I think the removal of stances was fine because how the stances functioned was fucking stupid in Final Fantasy XIV. They had no reason to exist in whatever form they were in when they were in the game. However, I think if stance dancing as a gameplay mechanic is very good, I just don't think Final Fantasy XIV ever did it right. Again, an example where it was done well was the iterations of World of Warcraft in the Vanilla WoW, Burning Crusade, and Wrath. After Wrath, maybe it was after Cataclysm, they got rid of stances in WoW, which was stupid. And actually in this expansion, they're bringing them back, for Warrior at least, not for DK. But in the past, Warrior had battle stance, defensive stance, berserker stance. Battle stance was balanced. Protection stance was obviously if you were tanking. And then they had berserker stance, which was high risk, high reward, highest DPS, but you took a fucking ton of damage if you got hit. They eventually added something called gladiator stance for one expansion, which was shit, and they removed it. But then they removed stancing altogether. DKs had blood presence, which you did more damage and your attacks healed you for more. Your defenses weren't great though. They had unholy presence, which reduced your GCD and increased your run speed and mounted speed. And then they had frost presence, which was pretty much tank stance, where you had more stamina and took less damage per hit. All those stances, and you would stance like fuck crazy back in the day for both warriors and Death Knights. They were the only two classes that really had a stance. You could argue that Paladin had auras, which was like stances, but it wasn't really like that. It wasn't big enough of a difference to make it a stance. They got rid of all that shit in WoW. Just like they got rid of that shit in Final Fantasy XIV. The difference is in WoW, when it was there in the game, it worked really well. It was a really cool thing that made whatever class had stance dancing a fucking thing. It made it really engaging and different from the other classes that didn't have that shit. And in this expansion's coming out, they're giving the 3 stances, Berserker, Defensive, and Battle, back to Warriors. They're not giving presences back to DKs. I really wish they would. It would have made it more interesting. But, hey, take what you can get. I never thought it was executed well in 14. Moving on. I melded 1187 parry for shits and science data dump. Setting aside all the solid reasons never to stat parry. Unreliable mitigation. Yeah, parry is RNG, just like block. Healers will heal like it's not there. Yeah, that's true. Rip DPS, yes. And that's what's most important, especially in Final Fantasy XIV. Physical only. Yep, you can't parry. You can't parry magic attacks in 14. You can't parry them in WoW either, but you can block them if you're a shield class. Partially block. Crit block priority, useless as an off tank. 100%. Yeah. Tenacity is so stupid. Dude, don't get me fucking started on tenacity, dude. Tenacity is parry was stupid. But fucking tenacity is stupid on fucking steroids, man. Tenacity is, oh my god, man. Like, so much cancer!
1 month into the new expansion that introduced tenacity to find out that nobody fucking used it.
Yeah.
Maybe you...
Yeah, for better or worse, DPS is king in all things in this game. Right there. Bam. End. Finished. The discussion's over. That sentence, for better or worse, DPS is king of all things in this game. Yes, yes, triple yes, yes. What, you rolled a fucking healer? You rolled a white mage? You rolled astrologian? You rolled sage? You think you're a healer, dude? No. No, you're a DPS. What, you rolled paladin? You rolled dark knight? You rolled fucking warrior? You think you're a tank, dude? Nah, you're DPS. Tenacity is a stat that trades damage for not damage. And here's the thing. Square can deny till they're blue in the face. They can deny till they're blue in the face that they want tanks to be good tanks and they want healers to focus on healing. But then at the same time, they balance the boss fights, the Savage and the Ultimate raids, around the fact that everybody is doing max DPS.
Tenacity is still in the game.
Yeah, why is it in the game?
Tenacity gear is still in the game. Tenacity food is still in the game. As of 6.2, I believe there's 2 pieces of food that have tenacity on. Nobody's using that shit. We look at gear with tenacity on and we cringe.
Yeah.
Because that is no way going into our BIS.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're desperate enough and the gear drops and nobody needs it.
Yeah, exactly. Tenacity is used where no other stats are worth melding, so you may see it in a few areas, but it's not by choice. It's the last priority. 100%. I when I was playing 14, I'd avoid tenacity gear like the fucking... like Twitch thoughts, man. I would dodge that shit left and right, be bobbing and weaving and shit. Square spending time and resources making tenacity gear and food is like having a company that makes condoms and shipping all your condoms to an island where nobody has a dick. Fucking stupid. See, and here's the problem. Here's the problem. He just said, looking, how can Square not see the imbalance? How can Square not look and see that like certain tanks are falling behind? But he misses his own the key point in that. Falling behind in what? He's not talking about tanks falling behind in the ability to take damage and mitigate damage. He's not talking about healers falling behind in how potent their heals are. He's saying they're falling behind in how much damage these classes are doing. Because that's all that's fucking important in this game.
The Paladin rotation is garbage.
That's what happens when you add 16 chain abilities in the expansion. Everyone, you guys remember all the fucking nerds when they released the job action trailer for Endwalker? How all the nerds were coming in their fucking pants when they saw how many awesome, and they are awesome looking, but awesome looking abilities Paladin had. Oh, fucking cool. Oh my god, guys, Confiteor 2, Confiteor 3, oh my fucking god, Confiteor 4. And this is what you get. All flashy shit. Doesn't mean anything. if you have to just blanket buff, I mean, I know what this is like because for the longest time in WoW, Frost Decay was getting buffed that way. They just arbitrarily slowly increase percentage numbers on abilities. Doesn't address the fucking issue. Doesn't address the fact that the rotation shit and that the abilities don't scale with gear. A lot of shit. Like, why the fuck doesn't Square just make tank gear with direct hit and crit? Direct hit. Why not?
Think about it as
fucking
you come into the game.
Stop trying to shove tenacity down everyone's throats. It's a shit stat. You failed at it. It's bad. No one wants it. Accept it. Move on. Yeah. Tank stat's stupid because no one gives a shit about tanking. Tanking doesn't mean anything. All the tanks can tank just fine. Their tanks are just mid-range DPS, so you want to take the highest.
Years ago, there were multiple patches where tanks had to use DPS accessories.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yep.
Fuck vitality. Give me the shit. Yeah.
They can't balance the tanks.
Yep.
They don't know what they're doing with the gear.
Yep.
They don't realize that no one's using.
Oh, hold on. They don't know what they're doing with the gear. I don't think that just applies to tanks, brother. I think that's the whole game. Tank accessories were plausible because of stance dancing. Stance dancing, if it's good, should be good regardless of your gear. You shouldn't have to have gear to make stance dancing work. The stances should be interesting enough and provide different benefits and drawbacks in each stance to make you want to be good at switching between which one you should be in at any given moment. Just because of gear, that's why it was bad and they got rid of it. I mean, and that's one thing that I'm going to say about Square Enix that's exactly like a lot of the developers at WoW. These two companies share this. Both companies are extremely stubborn in admitting when they're wrong, and they take forever to make a change that the players find out very early on is a bad change. Both WoW and Final Fantasy do this, where for WoW it's taken us how long? 8 years to get Blizzard to understand that we hated the new talent system, and they're finally giving us a better, improved version of the old one back. How long have people been saying tanks are this way in Final Fantasy 14? 5, 6 years? How long is it going to take them? Both companies suck at that.
To unify to the point where class identity is almost out the window.
All right, class identity. Class identity does not exist in Final Fantasy 14. It doesn't exist. It's one of the main reasons I stopped playing the game. Role identity exists. Role identity does exist, but even that's being watered the fuck down. Because at the end of the day, no matter what role you pick, the most important thing about all the roles is the same. What's your DPS? I don't think just buffing tenacity would make people use it.
It's messy.
Tenacity needs to be fucking removed. Tenacity needs to be removed. You need to find a different stat that it's important to tanks. And you need to tune fights to where the DPS of your tanks and your healers is not as important. Alright, I'll give this guy a like. I'll give the guy a like. Good job, buddy. I agree. I agree with it. But I think there's deeper issues than he addresses, for sure.